Okay, hello everyone. This is Joe Marconi. I'm here with Matt Lofton, and this is week 4 of JASPER training. Very pleased to be here and excited about today too. This is the four-part series about pay plans, about recruiting, about retention, employee retention. So we're going to get going. A lot to cover. I just want to thank Jasper again one more time for their willingness to help the aftermarket and do what they do. And Elite partners up with companies like Jasper, and it's the big benefit for everyone in the industry. Matt, welcome you two again. So we're here again.
Welcome.
So anything to add to my introduction here?
Yeah, just super excited to be with you guys for another week here. Really appreciate the time that you guys have invested in it. Really want to thank Jasper again for giving us this opportunity to present this information for you guys. We are going to try to push a little bit of activity in the chat today, so you guys have your chat pulled up. Um, and if there's any questions that you guys have throughout the day, I'll be monitoring the chat, post it in the chat, and we'll be happy to get those questions answered. And and then make sure that you guys get the most value out of today.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Now, at the end of this recording, I'm sorry, end of this presentation, everyone will receive these slides again and plus a recording of the entire 4 weeks. So this way you can view it at your leisure, go back, learn again, learn again. Repetition is the mother of learning. So I want to thank everyone again for being here. It's important to us that we share what we've learned through the years and what we keep learning dealing with automotive shops around the country. And being in the business for 41 years and as a shop owner and nearly 50 years as someone in the auto industry, there's a lot going on. And I say this a lot to everyone out there who owns a shop or manages a shop or a technician, anyone in the automotive industry, when you're dealing with vehicles and people, I tip my hat to what you do each and every day because truly you keep America moving. Everything you do is really so important to our economy, to your community, and to the industry. So keep doing what you're doing, and that's why we're here. I know what it is to live in the trenches. I know the good, bad, and the ugly. I know everything about this business. I started as a young kid, so it's important that we connect and we do what we have to do just to provide food on our table, but also to help others in our community. So I just want to put that out there in the spirit of Thanksgiving. That a lot to be thankful for. All right, so I'm Joe Marconi. That's Matt Lofton. We'll talk a little bit about this later, what we do, coaching, management training. We have a boot camp called Fly with the Eagles for managers and shop owners, service advisor training. We have pro service, which is mastermind groups. So we have a lot to offer and a lot more than this. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so let's review real quick the last 3 weeks. All right, we started off with creating a company that attracts the superstars and adopting the strategy of always recruiting. This is really important because you're going to eventually lose people. They quit. You have to let them go. They age out. They retire. Sometimes they move because of reasons, family reasons. So the concept of always recruiting is not so much always hiring, but it's creating that pipeline, that bench, like in a football team or a baseball team, that you can replace people as needed. Because quite honestly, you thinking in terms of growth, you're thinking in terms of future employees in additional positions. You're growing your company, so the concept of creating that atmosphere, that environment that attracts the best of the best is an important concept, and also the concept of continually recruiting, always recruiting. And one more point on this, one bullet point. You're looking for superstars, by the way, because superstars, they just don't want jobs, they want careers. And you have to hire the right people. Your shop owners, in particular, I'm reaching out to now, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. All right, so you surround yourself with superstars, you're going to have a much easier, a much better chance to grow the company you want to grow. So that's that concept. Week 2 was about creating a company that retains superstars. All right. So we want to attract people, the best people, superstars. Then we want to retain them. Turnover is too costly. Turnover costs us dearly in terms of morale, financial. It disrupts the business. So we want to do all we can to retain them, these people that we took a lot to invest to hire them, retain them as long as possible. All right. That's week number two. And that, by the way, that takes a lot of leadership, a lot of understanding people, a lot of listening, questioning. There's a lot to that. So, and please, you're going to get the recordings of these 4 weeks. So anything that jumps out at you that you need to review again, I really urge you. And plus, you have all these slides too. You'll get a copy of the slides today, and you should have gotten all the copies of the slides from the previous weeks. Those are yours to keep and look at. Do not, please, do not put the information you learned here today and put it on a shelf somewhere or put it out of your mind. It's not enough that you attended these courses these past 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's more important that you sit down, carve out time each week to study some of the pain points that you're going through now. Study maybe the areas that you need to improve upon. So it's an ongoing process. Last week was about pay plans, how to create pay plans. And we gave you some good examples, some solid examples of how to create pay plans that attract the superstars. Because when you start looking to hire people and start that recruiting process of, building a bench and eventually hiring, you're going to need something that's attractive. It's not all about money. You need to put out there a good monetary pay plan, but it's also about benefits, intrinsic value. What does it bring? What can you satisfy in them that they may not be receiving or getting from the place they work at right now? That's a big pain point. So creating the pay plans that attract superstars is critical. You don't want to lose a good superstar because you're not developing a pay plan that encompasses everything about what you can offer someone. And today, it's about pay plan strategies that help you to retain those superstars and grow your company. It's all about growth. It's all about, again, like I said earlier, it's all about creating an atmosphere that you attract the best people, hire the best people, assemble them around you, get them involved in your organization in a way that they're helping you grow, helping you become a better company. This is an ongoing process. Matt, what do you have to add? I'm sure
Yeah,
there's
Matt.
something.
Yeah, you're 100% right there, Joe. As far as I think your quote that you have there on the screen is probably the best summary for it. Your job's to get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and then, put those people in the right seats. And so kind of what we've been laying out here the last 4 weeks is how do you come up with a strategy and a plan that helps you recruit and attract the right people? How do we evaluate them when we bring them in as a recruit? If they pass the evaluation process, how do we put together a plan that attracts them to want to come and work for us? And then how do we keep them, how do we keep them there? Because if we attract great people, we hire great people, but we can't retain good people, then we lost all the value of having those good people on the team to begin with. So, really important topic. And again, it's one of those things that I think everybody should be top of mind for everybody is, making sure that you have the the biggest detriment that I think that we see in good businesses is average employees, right? In other words, you have an average employee, they're just good enough to stay on the team. There's no real reason to get rid of them, but they limit the potential of the business because you don't have all the right people on the bus or you don't have all the right people in the right seats on the bus. So you constantly, if you're not constantly recruiting, then you don't have anything to compare against the team that you have right now. They always look like the best you can get. But if you're constantly recruiting, you're constantly evaluating, it helps you evaluate your internal team and you're going to hire better people. You're going to get better and better about moving them around, as far as what their seat is on the bus, and it's going to kind of push you to get the wrong people, the wrong people off the bus. And if you have the right pay plans and you put all these strategies together, then once you get the right people, you're going to retain them, and then you get the compound interest effect of those people that are on the bus, right? But if you never put money in the savings or you never put money in the investment plan, then there is no compounding interest. So you got to have money in there to start with. You got to have those people, the right people on the bus. And so you start getting the compounding returns off of those people.
Excellent. Well said, Matt. Thank you. Thank you. We have a few messages in the chat. Do you want to read some of them, or right now, take a second out, Matt?
Yeah, I'm just want to remind everybody again. If you didn't read it, please post in the chat where you're from, and how many employees you have, and I'll be monitoring the chat, and I'll be posting back and forth with you guys. If you have any questions throughout, please post the questions as well.
Yeah, and Brian just mentioned that spoke at a shop owner today that was struggling with negative employee and shared some of the practices of this training. That's great. That's what we want to hear. That's excellent. Thank you, Brian, for posting that. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Okay, so this is the goal. All right. The goal, obviously, of these past 4 weeks, we can sum it up right here. You need to build packages, a plan, put it in place that improves long-term employee retention. Then you have to develop those employees. It's not one and done. It's not plug and play. It develops those employees. That is the goal. I'm sorry, that is the obligation of the shop owners and managers, of repair shops. And then the goal is scaling and growing your company. If your company is not growing, it's dying. So it has to be constantly growing. Now, let me just say something that your goals for your particular company are they're your goals, no one else's. If you want to stay one shop and it's a 4-bay shop, you just want to get better and better, more efficient, that's fine. If you want to grow to 2 locations, 10 locations, 20 locations, if that's your goal, that's fine. But your goal, your objective in your business career is yours and yours alone. So we're not proposing that you have you look to a certain aspiration. We're just saying whatever you're doing in business right now, you have to have that mindset that you every day gets better and better. It's called Kaizen, continuous improvement, right? So every day you should have the mindset or adopt the mindset that today you're going to work really hard to be better than yesterday, and also work really hard today to make tomorrow better than today. Right? That is the mindset. So, and that's just not about business, by the way. That's about just being human. And that's just being part of existence. All right. We want to continually improve ourselves. All right. So this was a survey that was done, and this was a compilation of a few surveys. And these were the highlights, the top few um, uh, top few that came out of this survey from Gallup, LinkedIn, Quantum Workplace, and US Employee Engagement Survey. And they said that number one, respect and appreciation, a healthy workplace was really number one in terms of employee retention. Predictable future income, career pathing, training, continuous training was up there too. A well-equipped modern facility. All right. People that work, superstars in particular, want to feel proud about where they work. They want to work in the facility they can point to and say, wow, I'm proud of that. Opportunities to earn more. Obviously, there has to be a path, and we're going to show you just a little bit about opportunities and to earn more through as they grow within your company. And leadership that invests in them. All right. Leadership is critical, extremely critical. So this is comes from a survey, the results of a survey. And there are other items of those surveys that were taken, but these were the top. They were kind of like repeated in the different surveys. That's why we put them up here. Something to think about. What do you think? What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the number one thing that we hear all the time from employees that wind up leaving their employment, I think that last, just leadership, 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 right? They want to feel like leadership is invested in the future of the business, leadership is invested in their future, and that they have some sort of, that they're in some sort of alignment of where the future of the business is and where the future of the leadership is, and they want to know that they have some sort of a plan there. A healthy workplace as well. I mean, I know that sounds, um, but I interview probably 10 to 15 people a week, just in my personal business, and you'd be surprised how many times that healthy workplace, the workplace environment comes up. I asked, why are you looking for, what has you looking for a change of scenery? And I would say probably 70% of the time, it's, man, I just feel like we're in a toxic environment.
Yeah.
I'm making good
Yeah.
money, but so that workplace environment really matters. And then, so I mean, those are kind of Joe's hit on all the things. These are the things that really pop up on a consistent basis. The ability to be trained, to be able to have a career path to move forward. Having a facility that gives them the equipment, what they need to do their job and do it effectively, the ability to grow and earn more, and then, like I said, just having sound leadership in general.
Excellent. Excellent. Well said, Matt. Yeah, and to your point, Matt, people usually don't leave or quit their job. They quit who they work for, or they
Yeah.
quit, like you said, that toxic environment. So think about that. And how many times have we heard that so and so technician left their job, place of employment, to go work somewhere else for less money? Why? Toxic environment. So something to think about. Okay, so here's the strategy. In the elite, we look at this as the three pillars of retention pay strategy. Number one, and I'll go into detail with all these three, but number one is provide a competitive base pay, compensation. Number two is implement performance and productivity incentives. And number three is support. All right, support your superstars for a long-term career path with development and retention rewards. In other words, there has to be some sort of reason, incentive. It doesn't have to be monetary either. It can be intrinsic. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. Intrinsic means from the heart. It means things that are emotionally attached. All right. Not everything is always monetary. All right. They need a good pay. I get that, but it's a balance of intrinsic, from the heart, and extrinsic, which is something that's tangible, like money. So let's get into these one by one. The first pillar, a competitive pay plan. If possible, and we brought this up a few times already in the past few weeks, pay above market wage. And I understand that's not always achievable because you have to keep it in your budget, but plan for future growth. Your goal is to get your business to a point where which we can afford paying people a good base wage, all right, and hopefully above market wage. Again, you want to attract and retain, all right. You have to be able to have that type of environment or financial horsepower to do this. There's a good book out there called Good Job Strategy. I forget the author, but he talks about companies like um, Costco, Progressive Insurance, Trader Joe's, and there's a few others. I can't remember now. And these companies typically they look for superstars. Yes, they look for the best, but they pay above a little bit above, sometimes a lot above market wage, and they do a lot with employee retention and career pathing. And so I think it's worth it to just explore this idea because you don't want to have a revolving door. Number two is predictable pay plans. In other words, that reduces stress, and especially during slow times. That's why if surveys were done with shops that are on strictly a flat rate, and it's not so much the technician that worries so much, but the spouse at home. The spouse at home worries, well, if it slows down in February when there's two snowfalls expected next week, what happens to your paycheck if you only can produce 10 hours? So you have to, and most shops now understand that, and many of them are getting away from strictly a flat rate type pay plan. But think about that. Think about how the technician thinks and the family. If that spouse has to take care of two kids, so the stress alone is can be it's not a healthy environment. Opportunity to earn more. We mentioned that earlier, but that's part of this pillar number one. Review market pay scales annually and adjust when needed. All right, take a survey, find out what is in your market area and make those adjustments if necessary. And then make sure that every new hire understands their growth opportunities from day one. And we'll get into that a little bit more in detail in just a little bit. Matt, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, just, working with clients and then just, paying attention to the industry as a whole, through social media and different things. We hear the general complaint all the time that, we can't find good help, we can't find good technicians don't exist. And the first bullet point that you have up there is, you know, you have to be able to pay at least somewhat close to market wage for what those individuals are. And a lot of times what we'll find out is, you know, they're putting a job offer out there for 15, $20 an hour position and expecting to get an A-level quality individual. When you look at their market might be, $40 an hour for that individual, right? And so, Joe's point here, you have to figure out what quality people are in your area. You got to budget appropriately. If you're taking a look at if you're taking a look at your business and you're saying, man, I can't afford to pay somebody $40 an hour and be profitable, and you got to address that problem too, right? That's a separate issue, and you got to address that problem. So like Joe said, you got to plan for that financial growth that's going to allow you to bring those top level team members on. And because without those top level team members, you're always going to be capped out at the talent level that you have. So you gotta, there's no basketball team that can win without people that can score. And so if you just don't have good talent, it is what it is. You have to pay up for the people that can deliver for you. And if you can't pay what that market wage is in your area, then you got to slowly work on the business so you can get it to the point that you can, so you can get those right people on the bus.
Well, and that's the point. And we met, you and I both worked with clients that have shown them that when they put somebody on board that's really higher than they're getting paid higher than they can financially afford at that time, we show them and we help them with a plan that builds their business. Because, like you said, if we hire someone that's very, very talented and produce those hours, let's say it's a technician or a service advisor that can really sell and connect with the customers, they will increase the value of your company financially. They will increase your company to a point where their pay compensation is paying for itself. Now you have to have a faith here in the process, and we can show you that it takes a lot of work, but in thinking that you can't afford someone could be short-sighted. Again, we got to look at your numbers to make sure that you understand what your budget is, and you have to keep within a certain budget. But sometimes it takes that faith in if I hire the right people, I can grow my business from that point on too. So you're right, Matt. There's a lot going on here. All right, number two, which is another important pillar, implement performance and productivity incentives. All right. Encourage, though, top of the list is always encourage quality, customer experience, and then efficiency. All right. You always want to resort back to quality and customer experience. It all begins and ends right there. Because if you don't have customers, if they're not happy, if they're not coming back, if you're not retaining customers, a lot of this doesn't mean anything. All right. And don't forget to create team incentives too. Team incentives, briefly explain, let's say a technician, let's say you have three technicians and you've done the math. You look back past 3 weeks, you've done the math, you know that your minimum level for those three technicians as a team is around 100 and let's say 160 hours a week of billable labor. Well, if you could put a team bonus on there that as a team, in addition to the benchmarks that they have to hit and goals that they have to hit, you can put a team goal out there that if they go above 160 in billable hours as a team, then they can win both individually and as a team. That helps to eliminate some of that animosity that could develop in just strictly a individual type bonus situation. It also helps to bring the team together in a way where Larry doesn't mind helping Billy if he's stuck on a job and they work together because they know that there's a benefit all the way around. Plus, it helps promote morale too. Individual technicians, incentives, these are just some of them. Quality standards, all right? You need to create quality standards and benchmarks for those quality standards as for a bonus. Production goals with benchmarks for bonus. Service advisors, a little bit different. Again, I go back to this customer service, which is very, very important. Always push the customer service, the scores, the reviews, the one-on-one connection. That experience is so critical in terms of what we do each and every day, especially for the service advisor position. Other incentives you can build upon sales, gross profit, other KPIs. We showed you last week. We gave you a whole list of how to do this. So this is just building up a plan that makes sure you cover all these strategies. And then if you want to, a lot of shops put a specific bonus on any maintenance or service sales. And by the way, you should create for other positions too in your company. Anything I missed here, Matt?
So Joe, you covered it. I got a few things I'd just like to add to it.
Sure.
We covered different types of pay plans last week, and we gave you guys some examples. One thing that I wanted to stress to you guys this week is, especially on the performance and incentive side of it, we said last week there is no one size pay plan that fits everybody, and we truly believe that. Um, I also want to say that from an ethical standpoint, by and large, there is no one pay plan that's ethically better or ethically worse than another one. Ethics is based on the ethics of the owner of the individual implementing the pay plan, right? So if you're an ethical individual, your pay plans are going to be ethical because you're going to do the right thing by your employees. With that being said, you need to do some self-reflection with this, and you need to figure out as a manager what your management style is and what you're willing to hold people accountable for. So your performance plan should help incentivize your weaknesses as a manager. And what I mean by that is this. If you're the type of manager that's going to have a really hard time holding people accountable for their performance, then maybe you want a pay plan that's a little bit more performance minded, because the pay plan will help you manage the performance, right? If you're an individual that is you're very performance minded and you're pushing people go 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 all the time, then maybe you want your pay plans to be a little bit more on the ethics and quality side of things to make sure that we don't incentivize people to do things that are unethical or cut corners or low quality work. So you really have to think about your personality, who you are as an individual, and make sure that whatever your management style is, whatever your aggressiveness is, with being able to push production and push productivity and push people to get more out of themselves, the pay plans have to offset whatever that weakness is, right?
Perfect, Matt. I couldn't have said it better. Perfect, perfect. Okay. Number three. All right. Support long-term career paths with development and retention rewards. This is what superstars are looking for, the best of the best. Remember, it's not just a job to them, it's a clear career path. And this is just a general rundown here of technicians and service advisors. It doesn't have to fit your shop in particular. Every shop's a little bit different, but as you can see, there's a natural progression. So we bring a apprentice in, then we want to work with them to become a general service tech, C, B, A level master tech that may be specialized in certain areas like diagnostics, analysis, electrical, hybrids. Whatever your business model dictates will help to create this career path. Shop foreman, leadership, team associate. That's something that's a little bit different. You don't see it a lot, but if you could have particular meetings, strategy meetings, all right, in your shop and have a leadership team where you meet quarterly, monthly, whatever it is, and you get input, you ask input from certain team members as they grow within the company. That could be a very, very valuable tool, not just for the company, but as a retention tool, because they'll really feel good about themselves that they are a contributing factor, the contributing component to the success of their career and of the company they work for. So it's something just to think about. Service advisors, they start off as an assistant, then they progress. Service advisor, lead service advisor, maybe service manager eventually, and again, the leadership team associates. And again, create for other positions too. Okay, this is what Matt said earlier. There's no such thing as one pay plan, and there's no such thing as plug and play either. All right, you need a well-designed onboarding process. There's no way you can just hire someone. I don't care how talented they are, how much experience they have. and just throw them into the mix. I just went through this with a client. I worked with him for at least a month, month and a half in hiring a manager for his company. He has a multi-store company, and he needed to hire a general manager. And this guy's a superstar. I believe he's a superstar. We've done all our due diligence, but he did one wrong thing. Against my wishes and against what we worked on, he threw him into the mix on the first day, and it was pandemonium. It was chaos. You can't do that. Especially now, if you're a one, two, three-man shop, that kind of works a little bit easier. But if you're a company with 6 bays, 5 bays, you have 3 technicians, 2 service advisors, a shuttle driver. You have certain SOPs, certain your business model is different. So you need to give people time to acclimate. So onboard everyone, even the superstars. If you don't have a company manual, create it. If you have one, make sure it's updated. Keep that company manual fresh, fresh, fresh. Meet with every new hire the first week. I'm sorry, every day in the first week. Every day. Doesn't have to be anything formal, but don't let a day go by where you don't pull that person aside and say, "How you doing? You need anything?" All right. It's very, very important. You want to make sure that you acclimate, you build this relationship starting very, very early. No matter how much you've worked on this relationship prior to the hiring process and actually day one starting, it's different. It's different. Make sure their workstation is set up, and make sure you get their uniforms. If you do provide uniforms, make sure it's already set before. Don't order uniforms or worry about their workstation when on their first day. Make sure it's ready for them. Eliminate the stress as best as possible. You need to have a first day packet, which includes all the policies, procedures, the manual, pay plan review again, any human resource documents, anything you feel necessary to put in front of them that they can review. And have them set aside time with someone. Could be you, the manager, if you have an office manager, someone that can review these things with them. Just don't throw them into the mix that first day. I know you want to. I know you've been maybe sometimes you're short a particular person for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, and you just want to get things going. I realize that. But the foundation that you set, all right, like building a house, the stronger the foundation, the stronger the house. All right. My father used to tell me if you build a brick wall, well, the top bricks are all dependent upon how you set the bottom bricks. Because if the bottom bricks are crooked, the top, they're going to be crooked too. So foundation is very, very important. Well, obviously, welcome the team to welcome them to the team. Do another tour of the shop. They need to have a career chart. We're going to go through that just a little bit. The career chart takes them through the mapping out of what they can look at and opportunities down the road. All right. Make sure they have their logins, passwords, if that's necessary in your shop. Again, communicate your vision, the opportunities, customer history, company history, all important. Introduce them to their mentor or go-to person. What I mean by that is they're going to have questions. They're going to have questions throughout the day. There's going to be things that you can't anticipate. So make sure they know that person could be you as the shop owner, could be the manager, it could be a shop foreman, it could be a lead service advisor, but make sure they know that they can have their questions answered, especially the first few days, that go-to person. Assign an initial training, company training, which is basically going over your SOPs. All right. Make sure training on your business system, training on your DVIs, how to go through that process is very, very important. And then discuss the expectations. Again, you should have done this already before the hire, but go through that. What you expect 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, all those goals, and then ongoing. And that's specific to the job role. All right. And then schedule. Make sure you schedule that formal one-on-one after the 90-day period is over, right? For the 90 days, we'll talk about that a little bit too. Very critical time, that 90 days, right, Matt? I know you're big on
That's
this.
exactly right. Yep. Yes. I
And
mean,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I mean, the question that I would ask everybody is, and Joe, we hear it all the time, right? I have to tell my people the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, right? If you're in your business right now and you feel like you have to tell your people the same thing over and over again, then I'm not saying it doesn't mean that you have a people problem because you could, But what I can tell you it 100% probably means is that you have a training problem. And so if you're telling instead of training, then you need to work on this onboarding plan. You need to work on this 90-day training plan that Joe's kind of laid out here. You need to put them in an opportunity to be successful. And I think a lot of times, again, we talked about this in one of our original sessions there where, we put the service advisor at the front counter, we tell them where the phone is, and we let them get after it. And then we do the same thing with the technician. They're there 15 minutes, they get their toolbox set up, they meet everybody, and we hand them their first ticket, right? There's got to be some level of onboarding, even the superstars. We see it all the time. Oh, this guy's an A-level technician. He should come in and be plug and play. There are almost zero plug and play employees that you're going to pull in. And almost all the time that you go about it and think that they're going to be plug and play, you're going to be disappointed with the results that you get out of it. And that's going to impact the employee retention that you have. And again, today, a lot of what we're talking about here is how do you have those pay plans? How do you have that strategy to retain that employee now that we've hired them on?
Yeah, it's very good. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So you always want to communicate throughout their entire tenure with you how to advance in your company, all right, in their career. And always focus it and direct it as that it's their career. I know it's obvious they're working for you in your company, but they're working also for themselves in a way where they want to advance their career. If someone, and again, I go back to the superstars, all right, if a superstar feels stuck, feels that he or she is plateaued, that there is no sort of advancement here, they're going to be looking over the fence for greener grass. So always communicate. In other words, these are the things you need to think about. All right, and communicate these things often. Master your current role. Get better and better at your position. All right, attend the required training and take more. All right, get your certifications, whether it's ASE, doesn't have to be ASE. There are other certifications out there, or create your own certifications. We have shops, we have clients that created their own benchmarks. In other words, particular training deserves this. So it doesn't have to be ASE. ASE is just out there, but whatever you determine is some sort of benchmark or certification, it's a way to build upon their skills and advance them through your company. Always communicate how to improve quality, efficiency, and productivity. A true way, a good way, how to progress through the company. Adhering to company policies. Demonstrate leadership qualities. Very, very important. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Go into more detail on leadership, why that's so important. When you maintain a positive, team-focused mindset, that's another way how to advance in your company. Show initiative beyond your assigned role. Very, very, it's related to the leadership quality, but show initiative. In other words, as a person grows in your company, are they willing to help others to help in your company? Very, very important. And tenure, we'll talk about this a little bit too, about tenure with clarification. It's not the years, but personal development and commitment to themselves and to your company. I want this a two-way street. It's not all about you. I'm talking to the shop owners in this room now, the virtual room. It's about them too. And you have to understand that. If you're going to retain people and get the best out of everybody, you have to develop them. You have to make sure that they are committed to themselves as much as they're committed to you. If they're not, you may not have the right person, right? And this is the responsibility of ownership and management to provide the best training you possibly can, to bring out the best in them, and then motivate them to make them want to make themselves better. As they grow, as they make themselves better, they're making you better. They're making the company better. They're making everyone around them better. It's a win-win situation here. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, you can't, again, when we get the right people on the bus, we talked about this, the right people want to be coached and they want to be coached hard. They want to progress. They don't want to be stagnated. And I'm not saying you'll never have anybody that's on the team that's just fine being inside of their role. And that's okay as long as they're producing that role to the best of their ability and they're providing what they're supposed to provide for the company. It's fine. But by and large, you want people that want to advance inside of their career and that want to push and that want to grow. And, we hear it a lot that, what happens if I invest in this person? What happens if I hire this person and I can't provide them that next escalation and I train them up and they leave? And the tell, what's the quote there, Joe?
Well, yeah, so the quote is, what if I do all this, invest heavily, train them, and they leave? Well, do you not do anything? Don't train them and they stay, right? So there
Yeah.
you go. So think
Yep.
about that. I would take that risk, right, Matt? So would you,
100%.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100% of the time. So, I mean, what happens if they stay? What happens if you have an unmotivated employee that stays? What happens if you have an untrained employee that stays? Well, then we're always settling for, the level of talent that's there in the building right now and what that talent's able to provide for you. And so as an owner, you should never be satisfied, right? We want you to always be pushing, always be trying to, grow individually as a person yourself. And if you have that mindset for your personal self, then you should expect that for the people around you as well. And we want you to eventually get people on the bus that want that and expect that from you. They want to be developed. They want to be pushed. They want to be trained. They want that career progression. And look, it's okay if they outgrow you and you don't have an opportunity for them. That should be that's a feather in your cap when you're able to
yeah,
take that
yeah,
apprentice technician or that GS and train them up to the point that they're a B Tech and you don't have a B Tech role to give them. That's awesome. You just, you put that out into the industry, and at some point in time, you will need a B Tech again. And now we talked about recruiting, right? Hey, Joe, I don't have that position for you here available today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to help find you another shop that can give you that opportunity to be a B Tech. My only ask of you is this. All right, if you ever decide to leave there, I get first right of refusal. You
there
pick
you
up the
go.
phone and you
There
call
you
me
go.
first and
Yeah,
you'd be surprised how well that works. And again, if you are putting into people, you will have some people that outgrow you from time to time. You don't always have these are small businesses. I'm just
yeah,
looking here in the chat, and a lot of you guys have 3 employees, 4 employees, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So you might not have a career progression path for every single position in the shop at the time that they want it or need it. But you might have one for them 3 years from now.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and to piggyback on what you're saying, if you do everything we ask you to do and you are developing the people in your company, you will put yourself in a better position to grow your company. Well, without doing these things, you will plateau, you will be stalemated. So very, very important. All right, so you need to create the process. Like Matt spoke about earlier, you need to have that 90-day plan to ensure that people are the right fits. All right. Matt, you're gonna circle back to this a little bit, I think, right? So when we get done with this slide. So very, very important. Matt has a lot to say on that first bullet point. You're gonna schedule one-on-ones, a lot of them, because you want to understand the individual and what their goals are. All right. Once you understand their goals, you're going to do your best to align the goals of the individual, the goals of the company. We mentioned this, I believe, the last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe all 3 weeks. This is a very, very important strategy, a very, very productive strategy. If you understand the individual needs, all right, what they want out of life, what drives them, why they get up in the morning. Yes, it has to be tied into something monetary, but it's more than that. It's their home life, it's them buying a new car, vacation, buying a bigger home, having kids, having children. There are certain things that they want out of their life. If they realize that they can accomplish their goals by accomplishing the goals of the company, then you have one killer strategy, a very, very, very killer strategy right there. And again, communicate the requirements and criteria for each incentive, reward, and promotion. Always communicate how they can get a promotion, how they can receive an incentive. We'll give you some examples. Well, there are some right on the bottom here. Like if they attain ASE master certification, and these are, by the way, these are just numbers. Please, please, please. We're not suggesting. I just put some numbers down there just as a placeholder. But you have to put some sort of monetary value to some of these. Training completion after 40 hours. And we'll get into this deep a little bit down the road today. Promotion, it's a $4 bump in pay. Leadership initiatives, all right? Talked about that earlier. But when someone shows leadership, the willingness to help others, all right. It doesn't have to be a reward that's tied to money. It could be an intrinsic reward. It could be maybe something that it's a take home value. If they love taking the family out for fishing, a fishing trip or camping, then maybe offer them a gift card to a sporting goods store, or maybe a pass to a park somewhere that allows them to go there. Maybe rent them an RV. I don't know, think out of the box, but intrinsic rewards for leadership, because when people do things from the heart, when they do things intrinsically, they should be rewarded most of the times by that same type of reward, which is intrinsic. Doesn't have to be tied to money at this point. Sometimes when you pay someone a monetary reward, something they did at the goodness of their heart, you diminish that reward. I'm sorry, you diminish that behavior. So leadership is very, very important. When they show they're going beyond call of duty by helping out someone, it doesn't have to be a employee, the fellow employee. It could be a customer. It could be someone in the community. Whatever it is that's tied to them in a personal leadership capacity, you have to point that out because that's what you really want. You want to pump them up as an individual to make them really feel good about themselves. If you do that, everything falls into place. And then other incentives, and we'll go through this in a minute, to be determined as you see fit. But Matt, go back to the 90-day plan, but making sure that the employee is the right fit, because what happens so often.
Yeah, so we bring an employee in, we don't really have a plan. We start evaluating performance right out of the gate, and we didn't have a plan for how to teach that employee to be successful and to perform at the level. And a lot of times we didn't even explain to them what we feel like good performance is, right? We never set any expectations at all. So you have to have a 90-day plan, and I want you to think about your 90-day plan that says at the end of 90 days, I want your 90-day plan to be so good that at the end of 90 days, you know whether that individual is a team member or not. Because again, we talked about it earlier, and we said that, one of the biggest inhibitors of growth inside of good businesses is average employees, right? So if we hire this individual and they're average, they're not a bad person, they're not a bad employee, they're not causing a bunch of problems, but they're just barely getting by with the minimum expectations because we didn't really set a good expectation for them about what we expected. Um, if we allow that to continue, then we're going to minimize the potential out of the business, right? There's going to be a huge limiting factor there. And we have to know inside of that 90 days when we push them that they're going to respond and that they're going to be able to deliver and that they're going to be a 3 to 5 year employee, right? So if at the end of that 90 days, we should have enough data that says whether this person has what it takes to be a 3 to 5 year employee. And if they don't, then ethically it's the right thing to do for you, it's the right thing to do for the rest of the team, and it's the right thing to do for that individual to move on, right? Because what good does it do them to put them in a lame duck position that you're pretty confident that they may not make it out of, right? Oh, I'll give them another chance. I'll give them another chance. I'll give them another chance. Conflict avoidance doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do them any good. And it doesn't help the business, doesn't give it what it needs to be successful. So you need to have a really strong 90-day plan. You need to teach and not tell. You can't just tell people stuff. You can't just run around and say, hey, you're supposed to do it like this, and then come back 6 weeks later and be all upset that they can't get it done the right way. And you're like, well, I told them. You got to have that training plan in place and you got to go slow. You got to give them bite-sized pieces of information and then you got to get stackable skills on top of that, right? Talent is built on stackable skills.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. What you said is so, so true. It really is. You got to show them the way. You really do. And it has to be over and over again, too. It's one of the reasons why so many shop owners say, my employees don't get it. I've told them time and time again, they just don't do the right thing. They do the same things over and over again. Well, before you start holding them accountable or pointing blame at them, look inward. All right. Are you doing all the things we ask you to do? This one presentation today with all these bullet points is really foundational to keeping, retaining, and developing your employees. I really recommend, strongly, highly recommend that you go through this one presentation. If you don't do anything else, go through this presentation again to really dive deep into each of these bullet points throughout all these slides. It's critical to your future success. And let me tell you something too, it reduces a lot of stress on your part. and free you up with more time to work on things you need to work on. All right, so again, this is just a review again. You need to balance intrinsic from the heart with extrinsic, some monetary rewards, all right? And some of these things are, we know these things, positive, drama-free workplace, all right? Went through that earlier. No toxic environments, a better work-life balance, if at all possible. I know we have a very, very demanding type business models. I know we do. Whenever you can do some, like big discussions are happening all over social media about what people are doing next week for the holidays. Some are closing Thursday, Friday. Some are closing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Whatever it is, whatever you can have the work-life balance. You have to be able to understand the needs of the customers, but understand the needs of your employees too. Clean, organized facility, modern equipment means a lot to superstars. Clearly defined expectations. That's what Matt was alluding to before. If they don't know what's expected of them, how could they react? How could they go about their job on a daily basis? You need to repeat this over and over again. Sit them down, go over their expectations. All right. You'd be surprised what they don't get after you believe you've said it enough times. All right. Employee recognition and rewards. That's the whole thing about today. All right. How to set up a balance again of rewards that satisfies the heart and the pocketbook and the wallet. So very, very important. Leaderships that checks in and mentors regularly, very, very important. And take home values. I mentioned this earlier, the spouse is at home. All right. Whatever you can do to make sure that the family is taken care of also, that there's no stress. There's enough stress in the daily life of a shop owner, technician, service advisor, manager, shuttle driver, whatever position you have in your company, there's enough stress right there. What you don't want happening is bringing that stress home. So whatever you can have in that area will mean a lot. Okay, so here's a typical career path. Again, this is a sample, all right? It's not yours. It may not be anything like yours, but it may be similar, but this is just how we look at a technician, and we're taking this technician from an entry level to the next level. In this situation, it's a C level, all right? So this person starts out as $20 an hour, no production bonus plan. We're not putting that pressure on that person, but we want to have a career development plan. The goal, if at all possible, in this situation is 1 year. It could be a year and a half, it could be 2 years, depending upon the level of that person. But here, this is the plan. You assign them some sort of a mentor, or some people call them an accountability partner, for 1 month. That means that person is going to devote a lot of time and effort to making sure that person gets started off on the right foot. Assign the needed skills. All right. We're going to assign in this situation. Again, this is just an example. All right. They must complete 40 hours of training within a year. They must complete their scheduled in-house training, standard operating procedures, SOPs, complete 10 hours in 3 months. You're going to schedule ASE certifications or whatever you decide. I just mentioned, I'm using ASE as an example. All right. Every quarter, you want 4 certifications in a year. Begin tracking labor production. All right. You want to get to a point where they're producing 25 billable hours within 1 year. All right. That's your goal. Remember, we want to have this person go through this natural progression of building the skills to be able to attain the next level. And then obviously you want to track quality and rechecks. Remember, we don't like the word comebacks. We like the word rechecks. All right. Your goal is to less than a 0.05% is your goal. And then here's some incentive rewards you can have to reward that person along the way. In addition to their $20 per hour, when they complete the training, they get a bonus. When they complete 10 hours of training in-house training, they get another bonus, $250. When they can, for each ASE certification, they get $150. Again, please, please, please. This is just examples. They're not numbers I'm telling you that you have to plug in. These are just some examples. All right. And I always have this expression used in my business. When you pass your ASEs, you will get that reward. I did pay my technicians, and service advisors, but when you pass, all right, not if you pass, when you pass. All right. This way, and I made sure that my success rate and my pass rate was had to be 100%. Or had to be 100%. And I gave them all the tools to make sure they achieve that. And then maintain rechecks in a given week, $75 for any quality. If they have a quality week, then we give another bonus. And then if they complete all this within a year, in this situation, it's a year. Again, it could be a year and a half, it could be 2 years. This is a goal planned for a development plan for 1 year entry level, get them to the next level, and then we move them up to sea level. Upon completion, then they get a bump in pay, and then we put them on a more of a robust performance and incentive bonus plan. So, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got a pretty good example here about how to take, how to take that individual from an entry level technician and give them some sort of a progression pathway. I think that again, we talked about this on the front end on the recruiting side and making sure that you had a career path put in place that you could share them on the recruiting side of things. And then I think making sure that you're communicating this with them and you're using this as a comparison of where they're currently at with their performance in their development and in their training to what their future pay is going to be, right? And the last thing, there shouldn't be any confusion if somebody is underperforming, and there shouldn't be any confusion if somebody is, your people shouldn't have to come and ask you for a raise, right? If they're having to come and ask you for a raise, then they don't
Fair.
understand what the progression path is for them to get their raise,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that's what Joe's laid out here is this is a really clear pathway. Again, whether the numbers or the exact, path is what yours should be doesn't really matter. Put one together for yourself that you think is applicable for you and your team and your vision for what you want to get to. But the important part there is that nobody should ever come to you and ask for more money because they should already know what it takes to get that extra money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Exactly.
and if they do come and ask you for that, then your thing should be absolutely, let's go sit down and take a look at where you are and see what we got to do to get you to where you want to get to,
Yes.
right?
Excellent.
And because my thing is I think most of you guys in here, I hope all of you are here in the same way. If you had an entry level technician that you hired on that was just drastically overperforming, I don't think any of you here would not want to pay that individual what they were worth to keep them on the team, right? So if you do have that entry level $20 an hour technician and he's producing as well as a $40 an hour technician, um, you should be happy and want to pay him that $40 an hour, right? And so if that's the case, then it's in everybody's best interest for them to perform because the higher they're able to perform, the more money they're able to generate for the business, which means you have more money to be able to pay them.
Exactly. And then Matt, let me just piggyback on that. When you lay out a plan like this, it keeps the person engaged, number one, keeps them excited about the future because they know it's not like they live in a world of oblivion where they don't know the future. They know what the future is. They know what to attain. But again, I go back to what I said earlier. If you have the right person in place, they will hold on to it. They'll grab onto this. So they'll be excited about the future. They'll work hard toward this progression, number one. And like Matt said, it'll help eliminate, hey, boss, I think it's time for a raise. Because if that happens, then you got to sit them down and you got to be doing this anyway. So let's start the process already. This is for service advisors. All right. Same type of plan, a little bit different for advisors. And again, this is just an example. We're not saying this is what you have to do. It could be very similar to what you want to do, but you need to have a plan. So here we have a starting pay of $24 for this service advisor with a gross profit bonus, the gross profit bonus plan. The goal is to get this person to attain senior elite status. In other words, the elite status in that position. All right. 2 years. We figured 2 years to do this. Again, very similar. They need to complete 40 hours training per year, 10 hours training in 4 months, repeated when needed of SOP in-house training. Again, ASC certification or equivalent within 6 months. Establish gross profit minimal levels of acceptable performance with a goal. All right. They need to know what the minimal level is, what they should be doing consistently on a consistent basis, and then what the goal is to attain that bonus. They track, very important here, track customer service scores, online reviews. Again, we go back to the customer experience, leadership training. All right. That's very, very important for this position, at least in my world. All right. That means completing certain books, reading certain books, attending webinars, elite training. We have training for service advisors. So whatever we can do to have them have leadership training, because they're in a position where they're dealing with people. They need to know. By the way, leadership skills are people skills. So when I say leadership, I'm talking about people skills also. They're one and the same. All right, they're one and the same. And then the incentive bonuses. When they complete 40 hours of training, 350, 10 hours in-house training, 250. For each five-star review, $35. And then certifications. We, in addition to ASE, we have the Elite Masters course, Sales Master University, which is an elite online course that they can take at their own pace. All right. So here we can reward them for an ASE certification when they complete the master's course, when they complete the Sales Master University. Any Again, this is just an example. It's just showing you how to build it. You can create this however you want, but you need to have a plan that looks similar to this. All right. And again, leadership position, intrinsic rewards tied to personal goals. I mentioned this earlier, family or hobby. All right. When they complete this plan within 2 years, they've done everything. They showed you, the boss, that they want to progress in that position. Then they get moved up to senior level position, and then they get a pay bump to $28 an hour. And again, they'll continue with their performance and incentive bonus plan. This is it's just, look, it's sitting down in your office, sitting down, laying out the process, laying out the process for that position in a methodical way that shows the person, get excited. This is what you could attain. This is what it is. This will help two things. Like Matt said earlier, it'll help people from asking you, hey, boss, how can I get a raise around here? And it'll also help people from looking over the fence for greener grass, right? Right?
Yep, 100%, Joe.
All right, so tenure. Pay raises are not automatic, at least not at Elite. I never wanted to give someone a raise just because they were there 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's not that I don't believe in raises. I do believe in raises, and I did believe in raises when I was in business. But I just want, instead of giving them an automatic raise, I want to show them a pathway how to increase their financial situation through financial incentives and intrinsic rewards. Promotions are based by certain criteria. That criteria is set up just by, let me go back a second. This is how you do it. You set this plan in place. Right, this is it. So instead of saying you're here after 1 year, you get a raise, after 2 years, you get a raise. No, what I'm saying to you is set the criteria. Have these, let's go back to the technician criteria, service advisor technician. And you can build it for any position in your company. They have to know how to get a raise. Cost of living, yeah. If there's a cost of living raise, cost of living adjustment needed, give them that cost of living adjustment. Again, market rates are assessed annually. I mentioned that earlier. Very, very important. Loyalty rewards. All right. The person demonstrates personal growth. They're going the extra mile. If they add to the and contribute to the company's success, yeah, you've got to reward that too. Celebrate birthdays, work anniversaries, any milestones like achieving ASC master level certification. All these things they have to be top of mind in your world, and this way you recognize them. People want to be recognized for the work that they do. The more you recognize the behavior you want to see repeated, the more of that behavior you will see repeated. So, Matt, did I leave anything out here?
I don't think you left out anything at all, Joe. I think each one of these is really important. You have to, I think the biggest important thing here is, again, you got to have it. You got to have a pay plan in place. You got to have the progression plan in place. And that progression plan doesn't rely off of tenure. That's where we see a lot of clients, a lot of businesses get in trouble, with their payroll budgets, is they've got a guy that's been there 10, 15, 20 years, and that's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're giving blind raises off of tenure, then it doesn't take very long before you get really outside and lopsided on what your payroll budgets are. So be careful about that. This is not about capping people's pay. It's about
No,
growing. It's about growing the business to have more in that budget. If you remember last week, we talked about we had 10% or less available of our total sales available for service advisors, 17% to technicians. And so again, if what I try to sit down with my team is if the company grows, I have more available budget to be able to give to you as employees, right? And so what do they have to do to help that to make that happen, right? The players, you're the coach, the players are the ones playing the game. And so it's your job to give them all the tools to be successful, set up an environment that allows them to be successful. But they got to go execute. And if they execute, that should grow the business. And if the business grows, then we'll have an opportunity to pay them more. But we can't just pay more for the same. And if you do that, that's a recipe to go out of business, right? And we see that in the life cycle. We see a business start off, it's successful, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, and all of a sudden it grows to a point and we start getting out of budget, on things. And we see as the business grows, we start seeing the profit do this. You
that's
know,
right.
even though the top line revenue is growing, we start seeing net profit start diverging away from that. And that's not a business that's growing, growing to thrive. That's a business that's growing to die. And
Yeah,
so, you do have to be careful and you have to be mindful about this. And that's why having thoughtful pay plans is so very important. Having thoughtful pay plans. Joe, we've seen it where we've had clients that had pay plans in place where they grew the business. And just
yeah,
by virtue of the fact that they added another team member onto the, onto the
yeah,
staff and grew the business,
yeah,
that everybody else got more, got paid more as a result. And there might be some times that that's okay, but in this case, it got everything way out of whack,
yep.
on what the budget
It's true.
was. Um, and so we have to make sure that when we do pay people more, that we it's built into the progression of the pay plan. It's built into the budget of what the business can afford, and that there's some intentionality behind it. And I think you did a
Exactly.
great job of highlighting that there, Joe.
Yeah. Excellent, Matt. Excellent. Well said. All right, so how do you implement this strategy? All right, you need to analyze your current payroll right now, your budget, and create your future targets. If you don't know your budget or where you're at right now, we went through this previous weeks. Roughly, it's about 35% of revenue is your budget for payroll. Again, if you need help with this, we're going to show you a phone number, or you can call us or email us later on. This may take some sitting down and crunching some numbers, and we're happy to help you here. But you need to know your numbers. All right. Another thing you need to do is identify any gaps in your current pay competitiveness. All right. If you're not competitive, if you're behind the curveball, if that senior level technician has been working with you for 10 years and they're doing all the diagnostic work and they're superstars, they take every single class. And if they're not currently getting paid what they should be getting paid, then that's a problem. All right. So make sure you're current. All right. And this is not necessarily a fault. It's just you just don't realize it over time. So build tiered pay structure for each role. All right. We went through that. In other words, show them a structure, how they could progress through your company. Again, create incentive rewards. All right. Create clear expectations for every single position. Every single position is different. You should have a clear pathway. I'm sorry, a clear expectation tasks for every single position. Document, present the plan, and then review the plan and optimize that plan every 6 months. There's no pay plan that's going to live on perpetuity forever. It has to be adjusted. And sometimes you implement a new pay plan, you want to make sure you put what's called a sunset clause on it. That means you try it out for 3 months, 6 months, a year, and see if it really sticks. You may have to, no matter how nice and perfect it seems to you on paper, when you implement it, it may not be hold true. And the last thing is, please, we mentioned this past 3 weeks. I should have had it up here too. Any pay plan that you create, make sure you run it through a human resource company or human resource attorney. All right, so your long-term vision. All right, create a long-term vision. This is for all employees. Again, this is a quick review, so I want to hit this home. All right. You have to have vision. Managers, shop owners in this virtual room, you have to have vision. Everyone needs to see the opportunity, how to move upward. Increase in pay with every promotion has to be that including that vision. Increase benefits over time, such as retirement plans, death benefits, enhanced disability, tool insurance, personal time, and other take-home benefits. Think about what you can do to give them rewards over time, long-term vision, profit sharing, equity. That's a little bit more difficult, but if you have a large company, multi-store companies, especially with managers, it could be a profit sharing and equity participation type strategy. Again, that's too much involved to get in today. If you want to know more about that, reach out to us. We can help you with that. The opportunity to be part of the leadership team. I mentioned that earlier. Just being part of having the ability to sit down with management or the shop owner to for an employee to share their opinions, it could mean a lot. It usually does mean a lot to many people. The opportunity to be considered for a management position, all right, as your company grows. It could be a management position and your continued commitment to the employee's personal development, very, very important. And remember, I go back to this I said earlier, it's there by design. It's not that it's a typo. Intrinsic rewards for leadership, people behavior that's anything related to people skills, all right, custom related, team related, anything. You should reach out and really recognize that. Now, what do you think? Long-term vision.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on all the right steps there, Joe. You got to have a long-term vision. If you don't know where the ship is going, your job is to, your job is to direct the ship. And if you as the leader, if you as the owner, if you don't know where it's going, and you don't have a clear understanding of what your vision is and where you think the business is going to go, your employees are never going to be able to create that vision for you, and you can't have alignment. And if you don't have alignment, then you're going to have the wrong people, and if you have the wrong people, the pay plans don't matter, right? That doesn't really matter. But um, so I mean it's super important. Everything that Joe just said there is incredibly important. Making sure that, you have the opportunity to have feedback from the employee, making sure that you have personal development for yourself and the team, making sure that you have a shared clear vision for the company and they understand what that vision is and what their role is inside of it, making sure they understand what their progression and their vision is. And again, to make sure that there's alignment between the two, all of that matters so much. And we take it for granted because we get lost in the sauce of the work, right?
Yeah.
We get
Yeah.
so caught up in fixing cars, and we think to ourselves that none of this stuff has anything to do with fixing cars. But it just does. Fixing cars is a byproduct of the real work that we do. And that it takes people, and it takes skill, it takes skilled people, and it takes skilled people with a good plan to be able to fix cars profitably. And
Exactly.
there's a lot of people out there that can fix cars. There's less people out there that can fix cars profitably. And so if that's your goal and that's what you're struggling with, you know, all business is only two things. Business is math and people. And the math is easy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I know it looks difficult and feels difficult because a lot of us aren't comfortable with it, but you could read some books, you could spend a little bit of time, and you could get the math down pretty quick. The people is the hard part, right? And you have to really invest and continuously invest in yourself, to be able to pour into the people that you have, and get better at the talent evaluations, get better at the onboarding and the training, get better at the development, get better at helping people understand, the vision alignment. You have to, and as your skill grows in these areas, as you focus on these things, and we hope that we've inspired you over these last 4 weeks to put some thought and effort into this stuff. As you do that, that's where you're really going to see a lot of improvement, because the improvement's going to come, in the talent of the people that you have on the team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. So this is how you win. Your company wins. All right. Low turnover, lowest recruiting and onboarding costs. You save money because people are being retained in your company. Less disruption increases morale, by the way, improves morale. As people develop, they contribute more to your company. Retention improves autonomy, fueling further growth. Autonomy means they're really thinking for themselves. is not relying on you telling what to do. The longer someone's there, if you do your job correctly, they're building within themselves some sort of a way behavior. They behave in a way where they know what's expected of them and they act on it. They don't need you telling them every single second what to do. You're taking the initiative, which is very important. That alone will fuel further growth. Retention develops future leaders. All right. The longer they're there, the more comfortable, the more you develop. Again, you're really spending a lot of time developing them. You're developing future leaders. Retention enhances the customer experience. All right. Builds better shop culture. And the team becomes stronger and stronger as the relationship builds and builds and builds. The company can promote from within, which is very, very powerful. Again, that goes back to that good job strategy, the book that I mentioned earlier. These companies like Costco, Progressive, Trader Joe's, they tried to promote from within. They follow this structure of developing their people, their employees, because as they found out that sometimes it's better to promote from within than trying to hire from the outside. All right. So very, very important. Productivity, obviously, efficiency and quality all improves, and profits. All right. Everything improves when you do the right thing, when you follow this strategy. Okay, so real quick, the your company can't grow. I'm sorry, your company must grow along with your employees in order for everyone to grow. It can't be like Matt mentioned this earlier. Your company will benefit with doing the right things, but you need to know your financials. You need to focus on gross profit. This is a quick review of some of the numbers that are so important. You need to perform a profit and loss review every month and break even analysis every quarter. Keep payroll within that budget of 30 to 35% of revenue. Develop your employees before adding employees. All right. Very, very important. We give up on people too early sometimes. Develop them, spend time developing. When you don't have the plan in place, like we're outlining for you, what happens is you're not developing the employees, especially early on in the process, early on in the hiring process, and you give up on them too early. All right. And remember, cash is king. 6 months of cash reserve is important to your business. If again, I put this here because we can't, like Matt said earlier, you can't forget the numbers. It is the easier part of the business. I agree with Matt, but it's very, very important part. Your financials must grow with your people. All right. It has to be, you have to know. You got to set those targets. Again, if you struggle in any of these areas, let us know. We can help you. Final takeaways. Final takeaways. All right. It all begins with hiring the right people. We mentioned that earlier. We mentioned a number of times the past 4 weeks. All right. The pay plan alone won't fix the retention. It's everything else you do, making employees feel secured and valued, motivating them through the right development plans, building rewards into the process, especially loyalty rewards. Have those clear designed career path that helps support their growth. When they grow, you grow. All right. And the strong pay plan strategy always equals scalable, stable, and profitable shop. Matt, what do you have the final words on this presentation?
Yeah, I mean, I think over the last 4 weeks, we put together a really logical pathway of, employee attraction, employee retention, how to create those pay plans, how to align those pay plans with the other, with the other things that we talked about, how to make sure that we're staying in budget here. And again, retention it should be a number one goal of every single person, that's on this webinar. And the reason is because if you're able to hire the right people and you're able to retain those right people, then you're able to continue to focus on continual incremental improvement, like we talked about earlier, that compounding interest effect. And if I'm able to work a process for 6 months with the same group of people and I'm able to identify some weak spots in that process and sit down and improve the process a little bit and tweak it and change it and make it better and then teach it and let those people implement it, then I do that over the course of years, then my process continuously gets better. My customer experience continuously gets better. My employee experience continuously gets better. And that's where the growth in that's where the growth in the business, comes from. There's no magic button for growth,
No,
right?
no.
There is no magic button for it. Again, it's having the right people, giving those people the tools that they need to be successful, holding them accountable, and it takes all of these things that we talked about to be able to do that, right? You can't hold people accountable if you're living in fear, right? So if we're not recruiting and you have the wrong people on the bus, you're always going to be scared to get rid of those people because we're too scared of getting rid of them because we can't find somebody that's better, right? So you have to recruit. When you recruit, you have to be able to recruit. You got to have good pay plans, and you got to know your numbers to have good pay plans. So you got to put some, like Joe said, you got to put some time and really, it might be after hours, might be before hours, might be on a Saturday, but you're going to have to sit down and put some effort into this to be able to solve future problems. You have to take action today. And and if you want to eliminate turnover as an issue, if you want to eliminate employee performance as an issue, these are the ways that you do it. You can't just sit there. I know we talked about a lot about paying the top wage, and that's important because to attract the best people, you can't pay peanuts and not get monkeys, right? You,
Right.
you know, you
Yeah.
got you have to be able to pay something what the job is worth. At the same time, you could pay somebody $200,000 a year and they're not good at their job, right? Just because you pay somebody a lot of money doesn't mean that they're a great employee. So, you have to put a lot of effort into all of these areas to be able to make sure that you get it right. But once you do, it's amazing how much of a difference that it makes.
Yeah. Matt, you said something there very, very important. I just want to emphasize that. You know, it's what the shop owner does. You, the shop owner, I'm talking directly. What you do behind the scenes, working on these processes, working on these development plans is going to mean a lot. You can't put people in positions and expect them to perform unless you're not putting in your due diligence, your work behind it, developing them, mentoring them, building them, because that's what it takes to be successful. We have a problem, and I hear it all over every single day, all over the place, where we can't find quality people. Well, one of the problems is we can't retain them either. So you have to put a plan together like this. And please, again, I emphasize, take this, if nothing else, take this 1 week. The slides you're going to get today, we're going to send you a series of these slides. But today's slides is showing you how to build a plan that builds from within. It builds a structure, a strategy that develops the people around you. It tells the people that work for you right now if they're superstars. If they're the wrong people, that's different. If they're superstars, it tells them we care about you. We want you to stay. And this is the rewards of staying with us because it's just not about the company rewards. It's about you developing as an individual, your career. That's what really matters. Very, very important. This week 4 is so, so critically important. All right, next step. So if you haven't done it already, please, please, please whoops, I'm sorry. Create, let me just get this thing out of the way here a second. Create the process, how employees can advance in your company for every position. What does that look like for technicians, service advisors, managers, shuttle drivers, whatever it is? Create that process of how people can advance in your company. Create an onboarding process for all the employees. Just don't throw people. From this point on, we don't expect that they're going to hit the ground running the first day. There's no such thing. Like Matt says all the time, it's plug and play. All right. And then create those career path steps for each position. In other words, they have to know, keep them excited. They have to know exactly how they advance and what the rewards are for that. Okay, any questions, Matt, in the chat?
It does not appear that we have any questions in the chat. If anybody does have a question before we head out, please feel free to put
Yeah,
something in the chat.
okay.
If not, Joe is going to share our contact information,
Yeah,
please.
yeah,
If anybody has any questions about what I know we've gone over a lot over the last 4 weeks. I know this may seem really difficult to implement. He's going to go over some offers that we have for you as well. But again, if you need help, we're a people first company. Use that contact information. Reach out to
yeah.
us. There's one or two of you that already have that's participated in the last 4 weeks. We'd be happy to sit down and have a conversation and help wherever we can.
Yes, yes. All right, so real quick, this is Ignite. It's the elite event. It's in January, the end of January. It's a great way to kickstart your 2026 for your business. You come, you rub elbows with the best of the best. We have guest speakers. We have We have some people, we have breakout groups, a lot going on those few days. Please, if you can make it, it's in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's Ignite. Matt, do we have something in the chat? I think I just saw something.
It says, how much service advisors per technicians do you recommend? So that's a great question.
Good question.
I know years ago, kind of that ratio was 1 to 3. Right now, we're looking at it at 1 to 2. So one service advisor for every 2 technicians is probably a better ratio. And depending on what your business model is, it might even be closer to 1 to 1. Uh, the more um, the more specialty type work that you're doing, the longer those estimates are, the bigger the estimates are. It might actually be a little bit closer to 1 to 1. Also, a lot of that has to do with the talent and experience of the service advisor themselves as well.
It's a great
That's a great,
question.
great question, though.
Great question. It's asked all the time. Okay, so Fly with the Eagles. This is our 3-day boot camp. Next one is in February 19th to the 21st in Long Beach area, LA area. And it is 3 days of leadership, time management, goal setting, financial mastery, recruiting, employee management, a lot of or even more, what we did these past 4 weeks, we do on steroids at this 3-day boot camp. We do operational excellence, all about SOP development and how to fine tune your business, exit planning. It's going to be in, like I said earlier, Long Beach, LA area, February 19th, 21st. In the chat, Matt, I think I saw something in the chat.
That was just me asking prompting
Okay.
anybody if they had any more questions to
Okay,
feel
good.
while we're still going.
I did the regular price is $17.95. I think I mentioned this the past 3 weeks. Early bird is $6.99, but Jasper price is $3.99. So that's the QR code. Please, if you're interested, if you want to learn more about it, just you can again, I'm gonna give you our contact information in just a little bit. You reach out to us, all right? Go to the Elite website, Elite Worldwide website to learn more about it. You can take the QR code down right now, learn more about this. You plug in that Elite 300. And also, it's Jasper Co-op eligible, so it can bring that price down significantly. This is what we do. I don't make a hard sales pitch here, but do want to tell you that we're here to help. Like Matt said earlier, if there's something that you want to just run by us, you need help with, there's no pressure. Just schedule a call with us. That QR code it'll jump you right to Tom's calendar, and he will put it on the calendar, and we can reach out to you and help you any way that we can. That's what we do. We do have an offer for you, Jasper people, just this week, 50% off any enrollment, coaching program, advisor training, peer group service, 50% off the enrollment. So that's just for you, for Jasper, and whatever we can do. We're just here to help. As I said earlier, I'm an industry person for the past 50 years. I'm actually longer if you count the years as a kid working with my father. It's the only business that I've ever that I know. So I don't think I've ever done. So I understand your position. I understand what you do each and every day. If I can help, I'm more than happy to be there for you. I want to thank you, everyone. Thank everyone, including Jasper, for these past 4 weeks. It's been enlightening. I hope that we brought some value to your world, and that in any way that we can possibly help you. That's what we're here for. And just please, I urge you to take the information, review it. Jump to our website, by the way. There's more help on the website that you can learn about. So you need to put in the time, though. Shop owners, particular, and managers, you need to put the time in. It won't happen automatically. It won't happen by chance. It happens by you performing your due diligence, carving out time each week, and just saying to yourself, I want to make this week better. I want to make today better. I want to make this minute, this hour better than what it was, previously. That's what it takes. The more you put into your business, into your life, the better it will be. All right. And have that balance. Have that balance. All right. Anything left in the chat, Matt?
No, I think the chat's pretty
We're good?
much, I think we're
Okay.
good there. Again, just to just follow up on what Joe said there, we want to thank Jasper, thank each and every one of you guys. We've enjoyed putting this information together for you. And if there's any way that we can help, please, please find a way to get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to help in any way we can.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a great week. And we'll talk soon. We'll see you soon. All right. Take care. Thank you, Matt, so much. You were great. I appreciate you being here and helping me doing this. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye
Joe.
now.